Dive on into a fresh best of three decider match in Group F of Stay-at-Home Story Cup number 3. In the top left-hand side, our blue Zerg player is Solar. Taking on the red Terran in the bottom right-hand corner, it's INnoVation. So we didn't get to see any INnoVation in Group F so far. He was late to his first matchup. He played Drogo in the second matchup. We just didn't watch that one, simply put. It was that or we watched Solo Max Packs. I'm actually kind of glad we watched Solo Max Packs to see Max Packs advancing. Kind of hope Solo's going to bring some better ZVT than he brought in the ZVP, though, because his ZVP, I'm going to stand by what I said and say he wasn't his greatest performance strategically, execution-wise, defensively, any aspect you take of that game. All of it was kind of poor by Solar, if I've got to be honest. I mean, it is very easy once one thing goes wrong for everything else to look bad as well, right? Don't get me wrong, but it's, it's still kind of a little bit tough to watch as we get into our first map here on Lightshade. So Lightshade, it's actually, interestingly enough, I think the second time today we have started off a best of 3 TvZ on Lightshade, which doesn't happen a lot. Lightshade's oftentimes one of the Terran vetoes. But we saw Serral versus Soul on this map, right? Am I being crazy? I don't think I am. Serral Soul was our first matchup today. It was quite a few hours ago now, and we started on Lightshade, and they actually ended up playing like a 30-plus minute game. It was really quite long and epic, and it was kind of weird because it was like Serral was winning for the majority of the game, but Soul did what he needed to stay in the game. And honestly, a couple of things towards the end, if they'd gone Soul's way instead of Serral's, it's very possible Soul could have basically stalled the game out to basically mind out map, and he would have just about won on efficiency, and Serral was just able to overturn that from happening in the last few minutes of the game, really. So very excited to see what INnoVation and Solar has, just because, again, we're starting on Lightshade. It's not a map you see a lot of the time. You see it every now and again, but, yeah. It's not the most popular of all for a best of 3, especially. You see it a lot in best of 5s, right? Because sometimes they're like, well, I'd rather veto Jack and Natha, but usually the best of 5 video is like, I take Jack and Natha or I take Lightshade out. So obviously in the best of 3, you get 2 videos, you usually take both out. What that makes me wonder is, what does INnoVation veto? Maybe something like Romanticide if he doesn't feel like playing a Romanticide. Maybe Death Aura if he doesn't like the style on that map. That's the thing, right? It's a very stylistic choice, I suppose. It gets me interested to see what he has planned for Lightshade, right? Because if you go into Lightshade, which is typically a Zerg map, you better have a plan, right? Otherwise, you're going to be in some trouble. There's a reason this map is good for Zerg. A, it's short, so you've got to be careful of some of the aggression early in the game and stuff like that. B, not only is it short, but then it's actually got a good expansion pattern for Zerg. And if the Terran hits on the left side, you can just re-expand on the right side and just do that rotation of expansions based on where the Terran is or is not attacking. And there's pretty good run-by potential on this map as well. So, and especially on top of that, like a very open third base, very easy to engage into. And even over here, if you take this third base, this area is actually not so bad. If the Terran gets here, it's very easy. Big, wide ramps, right? Not as choked up areas to really come in and clean up on. So, lots of reasons why Zergs like to play this map. INnoVation is going to play it funky, so I can get behind this 100%. Going to go for this 2-base factory opening. 2-factory, 2-base opening. The 2-2, we shall call it from here on out. It's the Blue Flame Hellion build, right? So it's actually unfortunate because Solar opens Overlord Speed and he comes straight in. Oftentimes you actually hide the second factory out on the map. You actually build this out elsewhere. Sorry, I said 2-base. I'm being a little bit derpy. Sorry, guys. We've been live for 7.5 hours and I've only had 5-minute breaks. It's a third CC into the 2 factories in the Blue Flame. So sometimes you hide this factory out on the map so that you can just hide the fact that you're going Blue Flame a little bit more. So that's something that oftentimes happens here. But this time it gets scoured pretty quick. Now this is going to be Blue Flame Hellions into Bio. You might be like, well, mech into Bio, what is this? But actually, mech into Bio, like, this is actually a build that usually more often than not goes into Bio. Just for the fact that you can put a lot of pressure on with the Hellions, you force Roaches, and then you switch into the Bio units, which are typically good against Roaches. It's got a good little kind of, movement to it, right? It's got a good rhythm to it, this build. So yeah, it kind of feels janky, I guess, if you're looking at Blue Flame and then you see in Stim, you're like, what's going on? But honestly, it ain't so bad. I like it a lot, and that's nice, catching some drones here. Again, I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to have to apologize right now because of the players not hosting with Game Hard. If they don't host with Game Hard, we don't see worker kills on the side of the screen. We don't see upgrades and stuff finishing either. So apologies for that. There's a lot of drones going down here. That's major damage done. 15 drones killed in the game and 16 lings. It does cost you 11 Hellions. Remember, this is an investment from the Terran because you built the second factory early in the game too. But I love what we're doing now, going into heavy tank production to help you against what looks to be a Ling Ravager all-in follow-up. Solar is not replacing any of the drones he just lost, so he's absolutely looking to get aggressive here. As you do see, our few Ling's going to back away. Here comes our Overlord. Oh, here comes our Overlord out down to the right-hand side. Get this ready to go as you just see a few Marines putting damage out onto the Overseer here. So Overseer taking a few shots of damage. Just going to be seeing a couple of tanks continuing in. And these tanks doing a good job just picking away at these Ravages, by the way. So they actually get a couple shots for free. And I actually don't like this follow-up from Solar, but it makes sense because a lot of the time what you do as Inno is you keep on building Hellions for a while. But in this case, he went hard into tank production. I just don't see how you break this as Solar. So feels like Inno's just had a good response, and Solar's going to have to back it up. This Queen drop not going to do much. The Ling's already just staying at home as well. They appreciate there's nothing to be done here. Just going to leave the Ravages to pick away at some of these depots on the front line just to slow INnoVation down as much as possible and make use of these units in any way that you can. Few more battles. I'm just going to see the depots taking some damage once more. A missile upgrade and carapace upgrade coming through on the front evolution chambers. Roach speed on the way in from Solar as well. So getting that going. Again, more of this creep spread setting out on the bottom side. Going to start spreading through the south side of this. We do have the infestation pit already building up from Solar. As again, a little bit of repair going down. SCVs being pulled in to repair these depots up. So keeping those alive, and nice to keep at least a couple of them alive, but I love this. With the lair already done, the Overlords can drop creep, and then the Queens can creep spread from there. And that's what Solar is doing. They just basically make INnoVation, the outside of INnoVation's base, untakeable until you drop a couple of scans. So I would say that initially this started off pretty well for Solar. I would say losing 15 drones isn't great, but then you kill kind of the Hellions, and that was a big investment. 3cc though, I would say okay. I would say initially it wasn't so bad for Solar nor INnoVation. I would say the defense here was good for INnoVation. The choice of what he did afterwards, the fact Solar tried to be aggressive into what was just a couple of tanks. And the creep's going to slow INnoVation down a bit. He's going to start taking this third base now. He's got a lot of scans saved up, by the way, as he has that last tumor, and some Lings try and jump in on top of these Marines. What are our upgrades like right now? It is 1-1 against 0-0. One of the benefits that Inno has is just faster upgrades at the moment. And no. Solar, turn away. Do not fight into these tanks. There's so many of them. Because he's been building off of double factory for so long. He absolutely is just in an unbreakable position if it comes to just a straight up little rogue Ravager attack. You see these Marines going to clean up in the main base as the little Ling drop tries to find some extra damage. INnoVation sitting down about 16 workers right now as Solar's going to hit the Hive Tech. So 9 minutes in, Hive Tech being, finished up. And you're about to have the Lurker Den done too. So that's obviously going to go straight into Seismic Spines. Going to give you that Lurker range into Adaptive Talons. And that's the kind of game we're playing. But honestly, I still like Inno's position because now I look at the tanks and I'm like, well, they're going to be incredibly good at keeping these Lurkers at bay. Okay, with the tank count this high, you can't really go out on the map and be overly aggressive, but it kind of, it kind of gives me Soul vibes in a way, because I kind of look at this, and I would say that if it feels like INnoVation is set up for one of two things. Either he's going to go for the biggest 2-2 push you've ever seen, that tank count's going to be a ridiculous count at that point. Or he's looking to play a longer game where he's going to really look to sit back and defend with those tanks big time against the first waves of Lurkers. And just say, right, let this game go on. Let's start making my way into Ghost production. Let's start making my way into all of that kind of stuff that's going to help me in the super late game, like Ghosts and Libs and so on. And the tank lines are going to help me to get there. I would say it's more likely going to be that, simply for the fact that it's going to be a pretty late 2-2 timing, and 2-2 timing into lurkers. Not sure that's really going to work, but then again, I usually don't see this many siege tanks, so maybe it could. That was some nice positioning there. Those lurkers cleaned up the drop in its entirety on the upper right-hand side, so it does very well with that. Scan goes down across the map into the main base, looks to see what's going on here. Not a lot is the answer. Couple of lurkers still moving around. We go to the center of the map right now with Lingroach Ravager cleaning out this set of rocks. And got Marine's going to pick off a Zergling, and again, everything's starting to move forward. Army of INnoVation pulls back over the right side. Command Center going to land in position. A little lurker harass going to get shut down. Okay, as the Ghost Academy comes up, INnoVation is absolutely setting up for a nice long game, isn't he? At least a game where he's going to be defending for the foreseeable future. Lurker's going to burrow over on the right-hand side, pulling back. Adrenal Glands, plus 3 missiles, plus 3 carapace. I mean, Soul is really not slowed down at all going into his Hive Tech here. It's just going to be seeing the extra rocks going down, and again, just creep spreading everywhere. Soul maxed out, already working on a bank. If you missed the Serral Soul series earlier, you missed Serral reaching it was like a tank. I think he had 20k in the bank, right? He had like 12k, 8k at one point or something. Again, the numbers blur in my head because it's been a long day. But Serral and Soul played a game that really looked it didn't look like this up to this point, but I can see it looking very similar from here on out. As there's not really a way for Soul to break INnoVation, and INnoVation's kind of just like, well, that's fine. I'm just gonna slowly take, some creep spread back. I'm gonna take more bases. He really is just playing for the late game here. He's absolutely not looking to win this too early on. Fire units coming in, Roaches and Hydras going to be traded out. Obviously, any fight you take when the Lurker's on in range is generally going to be pretty okay if you use the Terran. As soon as the Lurkers come into the equation, you start to think twice about it, usually. One more Ghosts in production, as you do see these Ghosts already leading the charge forward. Fire stems in, gets 1 Queen, gets 2. Those few lurkers moving in as well. The Ghost backing off. Again, just more Ghosts on the way out, and not a lot to say about the game, right? We stabilized down. Soul's continue to invest. He's going into Aspire now, just in case. At some point here, generally, we have been seeing some brutal transitions in the later stages of the game, so good to kind of move in toward those. Snipes going down. Just going to be seeing still this army of Solar in the upper side, setting up in the center. Your team is being picked away at, so clearing out on this bottom left, as we do have other Lurkers starting to make their way forward as well. Lurkers burrow up. We do see the Ravager Hydra Force trying to come into the middle, and some other Ghosts kind of showing up and readying themselves for some snipes, perhaps. So line up a bunch of snipes here. There's a ton of Hydras going down. And talk about value, and of course we will talk about value and efficiency as this game goes on. Typically, one of the big things that will decide this game is just how efficient can each player be. It will decide how many bases INnoVation needs to take, and how long you can survive on with 5 bases against every other base of Solar on the map. And snipes like that are obviously going to start falling, making that fall into INnoVation's favor a little bit. Colcrew team is going down. We do have the Spire is upgrading as well. A second Spire too, why not? Upgrade on one, upgrade a Spire on the other, or just upgrade on both of them for a while. It'd be nice to have the Great Aspire up just in case you feel like the moment is right to go in toward those Broodlords. It's something which Solo has shown us as well. Never forget the game on Romanticide he played against Maru, who was kind of playing a similar style, and then he got himself nuked. So Solo is obviously very good at this very late game scenario. If you can go toe-to-toe with Maru of all people in the super late game, I really think he's kind of okay to play against INnoVation here as well. Just again, don't go walking yourself into any of those nukes which we saw him walk into in Katowice, because that was A, heartbreak, and B, absolutely not the way to win the game. Marines back up through the center. Pathogen Glands is on the way out, so bringing this up to get the Infestor energies to start up a little bit higher as well. Great Aspire in the back of the main. Marines move through, and they're going to get rid of some more creep teamers here up this right-hand side. It's quite a lot of creep being cleaned out in the upper right at the moment, getting rid of all of this. And INnoVation, again, very passive game overall when you look at this, right? I mean, you look at what's being lost in the game, and you know, a few units here and there, but there's never been any, like, super major fight out on the map. And that's because he's not looking to force that at all. He really is. I mean, look at this new steel plating, high-stack auto tracking. You know, buildings are going to have more upgrades, right? Like, that's the sort of game we're playing right now. Ship weapons as well, and that's actually really cool, because if this does come down to Broodlords later and you build Vikings, it's nice to already have those ship weapons in place. So, again, good to see INnoVation really just preparing in all ways for the later game. This is actually the most aggressive INnoVation's been in a while, dropping into the main, but it got shut down heavily. Now, that was horrible for INnoVation as the Ghost Squad try to move forward over here. They back away pretty quick, though. They're chased down by a couple Banes. Solo doesn't have Bane speed yet, but he hasn't really been using Banes, so it makes sense. And that was horrible for INnoVation in the main. He lost so much, like 20-30 supply for free. To do what? Like, he unloaded, and that was about it, as he lines up a nuke bottom side. We saw a second Ghost Academy built, so there's now 2 nukes on the way. So we're going to have a couple nukes at once right now. Setting up. Workers burrow up on the left-hand side. Lingbane Hydra will move toward the middle of the map. Almost Spore Crawlers coming down the frontier from Solo, suppressing those down to the bottom left. And you'll see a command center here in the upper right-hand side is going to be blocked by a burrowed Roach. One thing that's happened in this game is that Solo really didn't attack Inno's bases at all just yet. And that's possibly due to the tank count being so high to start the game off with. And still being so high. That means that he didn't slow down the 5th base at all, which does worry me a little bit that INnoVation's just being able to get that 5th base right away without any issue. Gonna start fighting through changelings here. Man, it takes so many clicks to clean up all the changelings. There's all that overseer energy just stacks up over time. Lings are gonna run in. This was not good, obviously, from Solar. Obviously, sometimes it feels as though you can do pretty well with just Lings against a, with just the Lings against the, like, tanks, but when there's that many tanks, it just doesn't work. Like, again, that's what's so ridiculous about this game. INnoVation, he's got 16 tanks right now, and the thing is, it's not like he's just built them. He's had 16 tanks the entire time, basically. That's what's been really wild about this, I think. Is that he's just had his tank counts for, like, now probably about 8 minutes or so. Go setting up. We see a lot of these Lings taking damage. Bio units coming through, and the Banelin's going to get pushed away. Snipes coming down. Overseer's taking a bunch of shots. We see a nuke lining up. I'm not sure if that was the only nuke. Well, that one got cancelled. That's going to lose that one as well. Not even cloaking the Ghost before nuking. Just a little sad just in case it might make the difference, right? Not guaranteed to make the difference, but it could do. Right? If the Overseer's just a bit too far away or something, you know, maybe you can save it. INnoVation is taking some better fights around this left side. 5k resource lost in his favor. He is, of course, still just sitting on 5 bases against the 7 of Solar. Top right is where he's going to be looking to later in the game. It becomes a bit interesting. Right now, he's defending the bottom left base while pushing here and trying to deny these fresh bases of Solar. But later in the game, when he takes the top right side of the map, then he's going to be wanting to push here. And this base, at that point, may be very well, you know, on its way to being mined out. So, something to watch for. There's another nuke lines up. This time the Spores are going to just pull away. Solar's not going to try and fight it. As the nuke lands, actually just get to kill a lurker and a drone. So that's a little bit of damage. STV's middle of the map obviously just being sacrificed, make more free space for army supply. At the same time, Solar's going to show up with the Broodlords now. So the Broodlord transition is there. Now we talked about INnoVation some +1 ship weapons and stuff earlier to be preparing for this. No Vikings or anything on the map just yet, though, so he's just going to be relying on the Ghost Snipes to try and push these Broods back. But I tell you what's going to be great about the Broods is that they're going to really just deny the Siege Tanks. Obviously, if there's one thing that Siege Tanks are really, truly terrible against, it's probably the Broodlords. Because the Broodlords are so... I mean, the Broodlords are just going to cause so much friendly fire, right? That's the problem. Clean up here, we're just going to see these Broods continue to come through, and it's going to be seen +2 Carapace coming in. 5 Infestors on the way up. The extra Banes building. Just going to snipe a bunch of these Broodlords. I mean, that was Solo just not really watching over here, and with so many ghosts, some of these snipes will go through against Broodlings, so actually gets a ton of their Broodlords, and it's another big efficient trade from INnoVation. Now 24 to 17,000 resources lost here as we pass the 20-minute marker on Lightshade. Game 1 of this best-of-3 series. It is the decider match of the group. Obviously, it's going to be a tense one. No one going to face elimination from losing this map, but if you lose this one, got to win 2 in a row to make it to that round of 16 and to not be eliminated. Kills off another round of changes on that right side. Again, it just takes the APM up, right? It's one of those things, so it's like, well, I may as well just drop the changes. I'll take his APM away. Makes him, you know, do something there rather than elsewhere on the map, perhaps. As Inno continues to come to the top side, denying this group spread. Bit of Bane and Hyde are going to move through, and Inno's just like, I'll just split the army, don't care, don't need to siege the tanks, that's for sure. He's got the Ghost on the left side here as well. I mean, the Hydras, if they didn't get chased down here, the Ghost would have absolutely had them on the snipes, and they actually might still. They don't even need the snipes, just the auto attacks are going to be fine. Well, this top side base from Solo is going to go down, so we're actually going to see INnoVation successfully denying a base. It's a pretty big deal. In fact, that's a huge deal. Pulling back around through the top, we're just going to be seeing more of these units back over the right side. Here comes the Broodlord Infestor army into the middle of the map. The tank's still having to hold off just a little bit. A few bio units stem forward. Again, the tanks and the Marauders are going to go up towards the upper side here and starting to push in. Ling's starting to run into this, and they're going to get taken down pretty swiftly, I think. So all these Lings get cleaned out, man. I mean, the Lings get cleaned out, but they take a few tanks down with them. Another Ghost snipe off with the Broodlords over here. The Infestor Fungals came on a bit of a delay right there. That was definitely a little bit of a slow couple fungal growths. And important that INnoVation denies this top side. There's still gas and minerals remaining on this base, and that's money which Solo is absolutely going to need to be able to win this game. I actually think Solo is on the losing track right now. He's 12,000 resources lost behind. INnoVation's not had any of his bases denied. And if INnoVation mines this base, he might not even need to mine this base. As long as Solo doesn't mine this base, and the efficiency doesn't take a turn in the other direction, INnoVation's just going to have enough resources to outmine Solo. So Solo needs to start doing something, trading more efficiently, and preferably also shutting down bases. The problem is he's playing these Broodlords, and the Broodlords are so slow, they can not really change direction very easily, they can't really go different ways. I think that's actually a big detriment right now, because it really makes them very bad at denying bases if INnoVation's army has so much time to respond to it. So, not really a believer in the Broods right now. I feel like some Broods for some stage of the game are good. Don't get me wrong, but I think a lot of them right now are just a little bit... yeah. Yeah, like right now I feel like there's too many of them, right? And they're just not doing enough, and the EMP goes off towards the Infestors. As we push in the bottom left-hand side, well, it's another problem for Solo, right? Because if you end up losing this hatchery, it's again same situation at the top right. Like, you need to mine out your bases at the very least here as Solo. And preferably some of the Terran's bases as well. So if you're having your base denied and you're not able to mine those out, it's making your job that must be done so much more difficult. singular ghost makes its way to the top side. Going to go toward the mineral line and go for a nuke once again. Just persistent with this nuking. As INnoVation also adds in a couple Thors, so again, a bit more preparation against Broods. But so far, he's not really had to worry about the Broods. The massive ghosts have gotten the job done. This is 24, 27 ghosts right here. There's 28 in total on the map. One of them just obviously nuked the top side, got a couple drones. I just need to see Solo winning like a huge fight, right? Solo needs to like clean out all of these ghosts while having a significant army left over, and he needs to start moving forward and denying bases after that. If he can't do that at some stage of this game, he's going to lose it out, and it's not happening yet, but it also doesn't need to happen right now. You know, he has got these infestors. I mean, they just got EMP'd, so their energy is low again, but he has got the infestors which are able to at least help against the ghosts with the fungals, etc. He's losing the topside bases again, though. Again, it's not an immediate issue because he's got money to spend for the moment, but eventually, you need to mine from here as Solo. If you do not mine from here, you just can't stay in the game when it comes to the efficiency of everybody. Nick lands for a couple of creep jammers. INnoVation going to load up, and it's going to fly into the main base. Why not? There's no reaction here from Solo. He's going to keep attacking until Solo actually reacts. And that's, well, why not, right? If your opponent's just like, well, I'm going to give up my base, attack him until he doesn't have anything to give up without falling behind. And obviously, you can't just give up the main base. That's your hive, that's your bane nest. Structures here that you need to keep alive. So he actually does send units in and ends up just being a trade out. INnoVation going to replace a few of the bio units, make even more ghosts for a moment or two, and actually mostly just replacing the bio units. I think he does have enough ghosts. 33, do you guys think? Do you think 33 ghosts are enough in this game? I don't know. Maybe 35 INnoVation. Maybe 35 snipes at a time would do it. I mean, this is what INnoVation was playing for from the start with that tank setup, etc. He was 100% going for this later stage of the game from a very early stage. Really no doubt about it in my mind, and he's absolutely gotten there. And again, with the way in which he's gotten there, you can see why he wanted to play for this stage of the game. He has full belief in his ability to win. If this game goes late and if this game goes in that direction, like, this game is in full control of his at the moment. Broodlord's firing the bio and the Thors get chased away out down the bottom side. Move to the left, Hatcher and a Spork Roll are going to go down. A couple Extractors in some trouble as well, for sure. And then going to nuke up into the center of the map, and obviously looking to come through the middle. Corruptors, Vipers, and Festers making their way to the left-hand side as we've got ourselves INnoVation attacking through. He's going to go and try and grab that, and Fester doesn't quite manage it. Fungal goes down. And Solo just can't keep bases alive. It's such a problem. You're going to start... I mean, Solo's bank has been depleting for a while. We are 3, 4, 5 minutes away from Solo having no bank at all at the rate at which these fights are happening. And without the bases in the bottom left, he's really just not mining properly anymore. I don't have the income graph, but I can show you the income. 900, 1,000 minerals, 200 gas. The gas is the problem. He does have an extra extractor here to take, but these extractors also only have like 500 and 400 on them, so yeah, not a lot of gas really there either. He's just systematically deleting portions of the map that Solo used to own. Just running him around silly, isn't he? Got the nuke in the middle, as the Broodlords say, nope. We've been Solo's Broodlords in the past. We don't want that to happen again. I'm sorry, Solo, but we're going to have to mention that nuke every single time you play late game TvZ. It's one of those things where when that nuke landed, you know forevermore that it's always going to be brought up as the nuke. And anytime Solo plays CVT now, the nuke is going to be brought up in conversation. It's just how it works. Snipes lining up, Ghosts aren't even bothering to cloak. Like, I mean, why, I guess? A fungal growth lands on just the one of them. INnoVation, again, very confident with his control. The bank of Solar continues to deplete. The drones aren't even mining the gases over here anymore, so mistake, as Well, a little Bioforce, quite a big Bioforce actually going to come in, and this hatch is going to go down again anyway. Solar is in a must-win the game position with Broodlord Infestor Corruptor that has no Infestor energy because it just got EMP'd on mass. I think there was maybe one Infestor left with energy, or maybe 2 or 3. I think it was about 3 that were left. So they actually got a good fungal off there to protect. INnoVation cleans out a couple of Corruptors on the top side. Solar's going to try and expand here, but obviously that's never allowed to happen. And INnoVation is just going to still, make his way to the upper side of the map, right? That's the only base he has left to mine. So take this base. It's actually fresh, right? Like, he never mined from this. I'm surprised he never took this base earlier. Do you know why? Probably because he just didn't need to draw himself out too thinly defending this forward base. Simply for the fact that he was denying bases so well, he knew he didn't need it, and he absolutely did not need it, right? You can see he did not need it. It's coming around, Broodling's going down, a couple of ghosts going forward, snipes on Infestors. Broodling is still chasing down this army, the Thor, the Marines, just about getting out of there. We do see a couple of extra lurkers still coming through as well. And again, the Infestor on the way up is also now. As a couple command centers continue to come on through. Broods and Corruptors continue to make their way through the center of the map. And they are going to try and force some fights here as Solar needs to trade out. He's got nothing left in the bank. This is it. Do or die time. He's actually going to find the Ghost kind of stuck in a corner. Can the Ghost snipe their way out of this? Big fungal on the Bio Army on the top side. I mean, the first ever a fight you're going to win here. Lurkers are burrowed up and killing so many of the Ghosts. The screams are endless. All of the Ghosts starting to go down. The Broodlord's turn. Fight the Bio on the other side. Reinforcements showing up from INnoVation here. 32 minutes in this game. Did Solar give himself enough of a chance to win this out? Corruptors are cleaning up anything possible, but you need some Broodlords to survive. They're the only things that they can attack on the ground anymore. The Corruptors can't morph into Broodlords because there's just no money left. And as INnoVation drops down in supply, his reinforcements are going to be the problem. His bank is still there. He still has potential mining. Now, Solar's starting to mine the bottom left, so he's got some small stream of income available. 5, 6 Broodlords remaining in the game. Is it still possible here from Solar? And Infestor showing up too. He needs to make moves quickly. He probably needs to get on top of the production more than anything else. There's no time to slow down right now as Solar. You gotta go, go, go. Streaming lings across the map. They're fast to build. It's the only thing he can afford until he gets a little bit more gas in the game. 4 Ghosts, a Thor, some Marines, 2 more Thors just finished up. That might be a big part of this. We see a defensive nuke being placed as INnoVation will try and buy some time on his own natural expansion. Solar says, right, let's go and deny this base up here. Maybe I can actually mine from it even, right? Get some money off this top right side. That could be a game changer if Solar gets this base up and running. All of a sudden, Solar finds a fight to make this game competitive once again. And now INnoVation's going to regret not having mined this because having been pushed back, he's obviously not in a position to deal with these bases in the corner anymore. So yeah, that ain't ideal. Couple extra Banes, it's going to morph in. We do have the Medivacs, everything else continues set up. INnoVation, he just had the bank to rebuild with, and that's going to be the issue. 130 to 90 army supply. Solar had to go and just push on through and just keep going. Like, did he? I mean, in a way, I can get it. If you think you can maybe get this base to mine and you can hold that base potentially. I mean, again, easier from our point of view to say. We have a very different perspective of it than Solar does, but you know, from our point of view, I think it's obvious that maybe he should have just gone for it. From Solar's point of view, he maybe believes he could actually get some mine to work from there once again. Something like that. Marines cleaning out extractors. Gonna see this hatch in the bottom left corner in some trouble as well. It's gonna go down. I mean, again, INnoVation just denying the bases that were giving Solar a little bit of life in this game. The 13 workers of INnoVation, as his bank is completely drained. This game has had an exciting ending, but it seemed to be so scripted for the last 15 or 20 minutes. Continuing through all of the tech going down. I mean, this turns into something of a base trade. What's really left here from Solar? Broodlord and a fair amount of Ling Bane. He's obviously absolutely out of cash right now, but he is mining the top right side. If this hatchery actually goes up and he gets some mining, is there a way? Top right of INnoVation still mining as well. He shots off onto the Corruptus here. Brutes are going to start taking some damage as the snipes line up. A couple of fungal growth look really good. Oh man, if there was ever, again, Sola's really made such a good effort to make this a competitive game in the last few minutes. But like, seriously, this was never meant to be this competitive. Like, INnoVation had Sola, like he was completely just dragging Sola around. He had this under full control. I mean, I don't know what you guys. What I wanted. One more I need to tell you guys. Like, I think Solar really had this game lost. INnoVation had this game won, and Solar just found the fight to maybe make it work. He had those ghost cornered. He was able to kill off like 30 ghosts. I mean, again, if there was ever a chance, it was probably going to be in that moment, but wasn't able to capitalize. And 35 minutes later, we do have ourselves a victory on the board for INnoVation. He wins the first map of this series. GG. On the bottom left-hand side, making that first game a bit more competitive than it maybe shouldn't have been. It is Solo in the bottom left of Pillars of Gold, map 2, up against INnoVation. Takes the lead in the series, obviously played for that late game, knew exactly where he wanted to go with that game plan. From the start of the game, it really felt like he knew what he was doing, right? And I will say it again, I really stand by that he really kind of dragged Solar around. Like, INnoVation's bases, do you guys ever remember seeing INnoVation, like, lose a base? Like, Solar obviously didn't really play a style to maybe go and deny bases so much, I suppose, but to tech up. But because he just teched up, INnoVation's like, cool, you teched up, and now I'm just going to go one way, kill this base, go that way, kill that base. He just ran Solar silly, to be quite honest with you guys. He just ran Solar around silly. It was a little bit ridiculous. So we get into game number 2 of this best of 3. Couple quick shouts. Thank you, Swarm DK, for the Prime for the 7 months. Hotter SC2 on the 26-month resub as well. Cheering on Inno as well. Thank you so much. Just as we have a moment or two at the start of the game, obviously this is going on YouTube after that first map, so if you're still watching and you're on YouTube, just want to say thanks for watching, and do consider checking out the, subscribing and all that usual stuff. Leave a comment down below, leave a like on the video if you thought that first game was ridiculously good. And just something else I want to mention as well, as always, if you want to support the WardiTV stuff, the Patreon page is a great place to do so. Patreon.com/WardiTV helps us run more tournaments, which helps us put out more content, which helps us do more streamy things. So do check that out. Alrighty, so we get ourselves into game number 2 of this best of 3 and see where we're going to take things as the SCV of INnoVation moves up to the top side. Factory on the way in a moment or two, and the field Zerglings on the way out as we get ourselves into again, just through the early stages, right? Reaper shows up, and let's see how this dance goes. Couple of Lings on the high ground, actually going to find himself losing one. Nice little position from INnoVation. It's funny, Solar probably just doesn't expect that Reaper to hop up into the main base right away, so one Zergling just kind of in the middle of nowhere and didn't even have a chance to run before it was just doomed. Nice little catch as we do have Reaper back up around to the center. So Reaper back around into the middle, and just going to be seeing the 3rd CC on the way up from INnoVation. So very similar to last game, 3 CC ended up to start the game off at least. Factory lands down. I'm sure a couple of Hellions will start up in a moment or two. We are going to see the starport as the next step of this, so it will be 1-1-1. It will not be 2 racks focused or anything along those lines. We go into our second gas as well, so everything just coming together nicely for a very standard build opening here. INnoVation still just with the 1 Zergling kill on the Reaper. Has not been able to deny any creep tumors or anything either. Pretty difficult to do so on Pillars of Gold due to the ramp and stuff. Obviously took a few shots of damage as they then got down the ramp, so yeah, not really able to find too many opportunities in that regard. They're coming back around up the right-hand side. Overlord speed is still coming in. Link speed on the way up. Couple Hellions, the Viking, all of this coming through as well right now. Again, let's CC in the main base. Gonna finish up and start morphing into an orbital command center. So bringing that up into an orbit, there's a Reaper and 2 Hellions. Put some damage onto a drone. Drone cancels up, pulls back away. INnoVation still just kind of coming around, sitting out on the bottom side of the map here now. We've got ourselves a Viking picking its way through this Overlord. So Overlord taking a lot of damage. This is going to fall again. Investment into the Overlord speed. It's probably one of these setups where it's like, well, what do you actually get to see with the Overlord speed? Well, you see the Viking building. What's interesting is now you're building a second unit off of a starport that doesn't have an add-on on it. And you saw the tech lab going, but, you know, this could very easily be like Stim and a Marine. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be this Hellbat attack, so I'm not sure how much info you find, other than the fact there's going to be a medevac on the way as well. I mean, let's see what Solar builds defensively. For the moment, just drawing, and that does, to me, seem like we might be having some trouble here, as INnoVation is on a Marauder Hellbat attack. Just needs to get these Hellions across, move them into Hellbats, and start to execute. Solar's still drawn into some extent. The Viking, one overkill still on it, just poking the others back a little bit, trying to push the vision back as far as possible. Oops, oh, I accidentally misclicked. Sorry guys, didn't mean to just click away from the Zergling dying. Alright, Hellions morph into Hellbats. Solar just started 1-1 melee upgrades. It's Lings and Queens to defend this attack. Here we go. Hellbats, a landed Viking, and now a couple of Marauders. The Marauders are big in this. It really makes me wonder if you can hold it all, because all of the holds when you're kind of not prepared for Hellbat attacks come from really good Queen Micro. Queen Micro can't happen if you're slowed by the Marauders, right? 14 more Lings on the way. I tell you what, the Medevac Micro wasn't there. INnoVation did nothing to save the Medevac, which means that none of these Hellbats get healed up like they maybe could have been. And if there's a way that this is held, it's maybe going to be off the back of that. I mean, this is obviously far from being done right now. Hellbats come through. A few of these drones starting to go. They're continuing to go down. 4 workers killed so far as INnoVation gets has a pretty good time out over on the right-hand side. Fortifying a couple of shots, Queen taking some damage. The other Ling is coming through, and the Hellbats surrounded, but reinforcements showing up as well. Man, this has been expensive from Solar. Look at resources lost here, 3k to 1.5k. INnoVation's had a fantastic opening. It's now transitioning fully into bio. One of the things Solar will have in his favor is upgrades, some melee upgrades further along than INnoVation's bio upgrades, which are just now coming through. INnoVation goes 3rd CC down during all of this, though, right, as Solar is still having to back away from mining. And obviously Solar's also on a worse work account as well, so obviously that's not working too well. As you see a few more Lings being picked away at. And INnoVation going back out around to the right-hand side. Ling is coming through there, grabbing us around, killing a Hellbat and a couple more Marines. More Lings around the right again there. On the way up, about halfway done. 7 extra drones on the way through. See some extra Banes momentarily morph and then decided not to. Seven Banelings coming in right now. Sending those out on the bottom side. Hellions, Marines, Medevacs. It's interesting that you never stop building Hellions, right? That does take away from your Marine production and barracks additions to some extent. Now we go 3 more racks. So we're going to go 8 racks here as INnoVation and really lay on the pressure to Solar. You know, on Pillars of Gold. I don't blame him. He's in a good position. It's been a very good start for him. And he's now hoping to transition that, you know, advantage and momentum into something that can actually just straight up end the game in the fairly near future in comparison to anything else. Still moving around the right side. A couple Marines tagging up this Overseer, and you're going to be seeing this Marine picking away at the Overseer as well. So that's taking quite a lot of damage. It's going to go down on the bottom side. Our Hellions poking around and seeing what they can do. Moving in. Gonna have a couple of Banes taking damage again. Marine stemming forward, and well, yeah, a couple of the Banelings continuing to go down. Hellions kiting backwards, connecting in pretty nicely for these Hellions too. So doing a fair amount with this. I actually would say that Solo's been able to trade pretty well, all things considered in that. He's down 30 supply, guys, though. I mean, fighting back from this feels like it shouldn't really happen, I want to say. INnoVation obviously going to keep on rallying down across the map. Widowmines continue to build. So usually when you go 8 racks like this, you obviously go for the... you obviously usually go for siege tank production. But right now there's no siege tanks. Right now it's just going to be Widowmine production. Widowmine connects and just going to be seeing the Link fall. And a few more Banes going to be morphing in there as well. And... okay, a little Bane run by over here, but INnoVation defends that too, as he's splitting his army up a bit on the right, just to drop on the right, the main push on the left. Solo is still pure Ling Bane. If there's a way to fight against this INnoVation army, pure Ling Bane is definitely the way to do it, simply for the fact that you just get a lot of units up, and that can help a lot against what is just a surge of units from the Terran. A bit of a better fight there from Solo, as he picks his way through what Inno has. We're going to be seeing more of these Marines and Widowmines making their way across the map. So reinforcements coming. Solo feels like he's got a chance to get into a Hydrogen and Infestation pits. I mean, if he can get up to those, credit to him, because he is kind of meant to be dead in this game. If he gets there, he might actually hold this. He might actually win the game, but how the hell are you actually meant to get there? Well, INnoVation losing all his Widow Mines without even an attempt to burrow obviously doesn't help. We've seen the other Marines falling back. There's a few Banes crashing into this mineral line again. This drop has to load up. What's the units lost have like? 29 SCVs lost. One of the biggest issues, INnoVation's mines just don't connect at all. He's not really had any mine shots. They just keep dying to Banelings and so on. This Medevac's going to go unloading into the main base in a few moments, and a few of these Zerglings being picked away at, so Ling's going down, other Ling's going to come streaming on in, and it's actually a nice stim to clean up a whole bunch of them. Banes, they get hit by a Widow Mine as INnoVation gets turned around on the bottom side as well. You know, the supplies are getting ever closer. INnoVation starts 3-3, but I actually think he's not going to win the game off this 8 racks anymore, and he's not, I don't know why. I mean, I think what he did was he just didn't actually attack. Like, he just kept trying to go separate ways, splitting up, and he never actually committed through to the larger attack here. INnoVation's supply is still ahead, right? He's still in the lead, but it's absolutely not the advantage that he once had, and I actually don't know now what you do, because obviously this gets worse over time because you don't have a 4th base set up or anything, so INnoVation not winning the game right now does become problematic further down the line as he loses a chunk of SCVs here. Wouldn't mind hits, and Bane's trying to make their way through. We do have INnoVation just going to lift up and back out of there again. 13 supply, 15 supply difference in the game now. It's actually getting closer and closer. Oh, man. It's getting a little wild, isn't it? Marines in the bottom, fighting some Ling Bane. Now going to push down the left-hand side. Solo actually has 5 bases in this, as we see him trying to defend. Widow Mine's going off everywhere and connecting a few times. 3-3 upgrades about halfway done. Of course, that's going to be an advantage for him too. Remember, the Hydras are on the way through, though, so I like what Solo did. He got the Infestation Pit as well, but he realized there's no way I can afford the Hive and go up to this, so he's just going to play Ling Bane Hydra now instead of just Ling Bane into what may have initially been the plan of being lurkers or so. Down the bottom side, INnoVation going to stim in and getting a few kills here. Gets an overseer, some more Lings in trouble. Remember, guys, INnoVation doesn't have a 4th base. Like, at some point of this, he needed to stop and build a 4th base, and he hasn't. And that's why I'm still kind of talking skeptically about his position, because it's a supply lead, yes. It's a huge army lead, yes. But if he takes one bad fight, his rebuild doesn't exist, because he's basically mining out. He's on 49 workers, and some of those are oversaturated. He has a horrendous economy compared to Solo's 5 bases, and You know, 66 drones isn't a huge amount, but compared to what INnoVation has right now, it absolutely is starting to be a huge amount. No Banelin's ready over here just yet, though. I lie. Apparently one was, and it made its way forward. Widowmine hits the Overseer. INnoVation chases forward, seeing an opportunity. Some other Banelin's in trouble. He lifts up. Medivacs lift up and get out of here. Buy units on the bottom side. Gonna go stimming in as well. A couple of these other Banes gonna get picked away at. INnoVation comes through, chasing these hiders down. He managed to get a base kill here, which would be huge. He's actually going to move his way down to get drones instead. Another Widowmine that just doesn't connect properly. No, don't tell me it's going to hit the Marines. Has INnoVation had a single good mine this game, guys? I feel like the answer to that maybe no, as he continues to fight through, man. The supply gap's opening up once again, and INnoVation is going to come through, chasing down a whole chunk of drones, so they're in trouble as they get chased away down the bottom side. There's going to be seen other drones in trouble. Overlords are going down. GG from Solar, and INnoVation is going to win it 2-0 in this best of 3 instead.